All right, guys, it's a cold but beautiful day. We just rolled into our next project. We got the little D4G with us, and we're gonna do some yard work. All right, a few of you guys may recognize this job if you've been watching my channel for a while. This is actually the basement we put in, this is last November. We put this in. We put the basement in then. This is the one we hit rock digging. It was an ICF job. We put the basement in then just because I had time and the weather was right, and they just started framing on the house a couple weeks ago. So now they got the house framed up, we're going to take our spoil pile of dirt and get it pushed around the house. And the first thing we're going to do is get that over there built up just a little bit. I think on this video I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I'm not gonna bore you guys to death with pushing a whole lot of dirt. We got a couple different situations here, so I'm just gonna share a few of my tips and techniques of how I go about running a dozer, and maybe it'll help somebody out. And heck, who knows, maybe one of you guys out there can teach me something. So first things first, let's get unloaded and get started. Alright guys, before we get too far along, let me start you off with just the basic dozer controls. This is a D4G hydrostat dozer, and all hydrostat dozers are pretty much the same with just a few different variations. The other option you would have is what they call a power shift dozer, which is some of the older or bigger dozers. You just basically have a gear selector for 3 gears forward, 3 gears back. This is a hydrostat dozer, so we're going to focus on that. So it's pretty simple. You got a joystick on this side, and this is your blade control. So if I pull this back, blade goes up. I push it down, blade goes down. If I push it this way, it tilts. If I push it this way, it tilts the other way. And if I twist it, it goes this way. Now some of the newer dozers have buttons up here for your angle, which is nice because if you're doing this all day long, it does get a little tiring on your wrist, but it's still better than some of the old school stuff. It's not bad. It's pretty easy to move. So you come over on this side. This is your parking brake, and this is your drive lever. So if I push this forward, we go forward. If I pull it back, we go backwards. Push it this way, we turn. Push it that way, we turn. These buttons up here on top control your track speed. And that gauge right there tells you what your track speed is. Now, one thing that's different on most dozers is this is your throttle. So it's wide open throttle. But dozers have a decelerator pedal instead of an accelerator pedal. So I've got my foot pushed down on it right now. If I let off of it, it goes wide open. The reason for that is whenever you're pushing, you spend more time at wide open throttle than you do at half throttle or idle. So that way your foot's off the pedal the most of the time, and it makes the most sense to run that way. This dozer does have a brake on it. Gets used very little on a hydrostat dozer. Every once in a while, if you're creeping up to a hole or if you just want to be careful, you use it, but the paint's barely even wore off that pedal. I'm sure somebody out there uses it for something, but most of the time it's just more of a safety feature or no crap pedal more than anything. So I'm gonna set you guys back here and kind of let you watch me work the controls a little bit, and then I'll explain to you kind of my process of how I'm going about doing what I'm doing. So here we go. guys, since you kind of seen the basic operation, one thing I will mention is you do not have to use the decel pedal to go from forward to reverse. Most dozers are smooth enough, you can just go it. You kind of just use that if you need to get up close to something, or if you need to slow the machine down a little bit. But let's talk about blades a little bit, because there are differences in blades. The two main differences are a 6-way blade versus a 4-way blade. And this dozer here has a 6-way blade on it. So what that means is that blade will go up and down, tilt this way, and then it'll angle back and forth. It moves 6 different directions. Most smaller dozers will have a 6-way blade on them, and they're really handy. Usually with a dozer like this, you're doing a lot of grade work, or cutting in slopes, or cutting in grade, and it just gives you a lot more options to do that. Now the bigger dozer, like the 850 John Deere, has what they have, a 4-way blade on it, and it has some advantages to it that this one don't. So let me just teleport myself to the 850 real quick, and we'll check out that blade, and then we'll come back. All right, guys, real quick. So this is a 4-way blade. So other than the obvious difference of it don't angle, it's got 2 other differences. One is the edge is straight and the ends are filled in, so it keeps a lot more dirt in front of the blade, and you get more capacity on most 4-way blades. The other difference is the way it attaches to the machine. Most 6-way blades are going to attach in the middle so they can pivot, and they're usually a little bit farther in front of the machine. Most 4-way blades will have these push arms, and they'll attach to the side of the machine. And what that allows is, gives you a lot more power on the corner of that blade if you need to rip or tear up ground, or push and dig in. It really handles the way the tractor pushes it. They both got their place. They both got their purposes. I like having both, because with this dozer I can flat move dirt, and with the other dozer I can finish it. I'll step over here real quick. It'll be a real quick direct example. This is Wade's, hey Roxy, Wade's 700 here, and you will see how the edge of the blade is not straight, it's curved like that, so dirt can come out the end. The reason why they do that is if the blade's angled, that is actually straight up and down. You can see how much farther the blade is in front of the machine, and then obviously you can see how it pivots and everything's right there in the center. So yeah, quick little explanation of the 2 different type of dozer blades. All right, back to work. All right, so the reason why I want to talk to you guys about blades is probably the biggest mistake people make when they first get on a dozer is the way they go about steering or trying to control the machine. I'm going to try to demonstrate this the best way I can possible. But whenever you're pushing forward with a dozer and you got both tracks pushing forward, you're getting 100% push forward. If you try to steer this thing to go left or right, you're taking one track and either stopping it or adding resistance to it, so you're losing 50% of your tracking power by doing that. So what I'm trying to explain is whenever you're pushing through a pile and it starts spinning, everybody wants to grab the joystick and try to go the other way. You're really hurting yourself doing that, because you're losing half of your pushing power, and whenever you need more pushing power because it's pulling you off, so you got to figure out how to steer it with the blade. So basically, get back up here. Ideal scenario for me right now is to push straight forward, right? So if I put the blade down and start going forward, let's tilt it this way. The other dozer starting to veer off to that side. I'm not going to use the joystick to correct that. I'm going to correct it with the blade. Once I got the dirt out in front of the blade, I'm up on top of the ground, and I'm just pushing it, then we can adjust the disc. Now, I hope you guys understand that's an extremely exaggerated example, but especially whenever you're trying to cut dirt out of a bench or cut something like that out of there, or trying to take dirt off, you got to keep as much power pushing forward as you can, so you kind of got to guide yourself with the blade and let the tracks do the pushing. And once you get the dirt up on top of the ground, you're just carrying it, and you just take off with it. So I'll put you guys back here and let you watch a little bit. Maybe you kind of see what I'm talking about. All right, guys, hopefully I did a good job of explaining that. It's kind of hard to explain unless you're operating, you don't quite understand. It's not that you don't use the tracks to steer. I don't want to be misheard on that. It's that you use the blade as much as you use the tracks when you're pushing, because you got to keep those tracks pushing forward to keep the dirt rolling. But now that we got the basis of how a dozer works and how it operates and how you move it, there's also just as important as the techniques you go about moving dirt. So in this particular instance here, the reason why I've got the dozer here and not the skid steer is twofold, because the majority of this pile is going a very short distance. It's going to be up and around there and around the front, and I can move it faster with that dozer than when I can a skid steer. Now, some of this dirt, as you see here, is going over there, and if ground conditions were right, if this wasn't rocky, it wasn't so wet and saturated and sticky and nasty and mucky, yeah, it probably would be faster to grab it with a skid steer, pick it up, pack it, and head over there. But we don't have the skid steer here, and we don't have those ground conditions. We got the dozer. So in these situations, the best way to get dirt from here to there is what they call a trench push, and this is what we got right here. You can just kind of see we got a trench where we're pushing dirt in there, and the purpose of this is, if you get this dirt built up on the sides over here, it adds capacity in front of your blade, so it keeps the dirt in front of the blade, so you can take more dirt over there in each pass. And basically you just build this by just keep pushing dirt in the same place. Dirt keeps rolling off the side, keeps building up, and the higher the sides get, the more dirt you can move. Now we got to go, this one here is not the best examples. It's got a little bit of a crook in it, but the straighter you can keep these, the better. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the dozer. And steering, they're made to push in a straight line. That goes for any track equipment. So the straighter you can keep it, the better. So basically what I'll do is I'll get a thing of dirt out of here, I'll bring it over here and set it in the trench. I'll go back and get another blade, and then once I get in that trench, I can basically take 2 blades fulls, shove it over there, and then I gotta make a 90-degree turn. So basically I'll make a small pile there and then push it up. And it works pretty good. Once you get it set up, you can move quite a bit of dirt that way. It's I don't know, this material, that blade, it's probably 3.5, maybe 4 full skid steer buckets from one. So every time I go across there, it's basically 3 to 4 skid steer buckets from one bulldozer bucket. That just really changes with dozers and conditions, so you gotta just play that job to job. But yeah, I'll set you guys on the dozer and we'll push a couple blades down the trench here. All right, guys, hopefully trench pushing made a little bit of sense to you. It's a pretty effective technique if you got to move dirt very far with the bulldozer. But this is where we're at. We got over there is all done, which was my long push. So everything we got now is going to be a short push. It's going to go pretty much right down in here. So I'm going to set you guys up on a time lapse there and just kind of let you watch me go to work on that. And then once I get that in there and somewhat degrade, we'll talk about a few tricks and tips to running grade with the dozer. So oh, it is cold up here, but yeah, let's get that done, and then we'll go through and take a quick little run through the house. You can kind of see what this looks like now that it's all framed up and on its foundation. So to work we go. All right, guys, this is one nasty pile of dirt. It is gummy, it is sticky, it's wet clay. That's exactly what it is. It's got the rocks buried in it from coming out of the basement, and it's just really, we're getting there. It's just been a struggle. Got to sort some rocks out, and just can't push a whole lot of it. It's like pushing bubble gum. You push and it pushes back, but this is not the ideal stuff to learn how to run grade in. This is, I don't know if you even can cut grade in this if you wanted to be honest with you. You can see I just kind of got it somewhat around there. Hopefully this sun will beat on it, dry it up a little bit, and then we'll be able to work it. But I told you guys I'd show you a few tricks to run and grade, so we'll just do it over here in the topsoil pile where it'll spread out and work a little bit nicer. But there's not really a whole lot of tricks to it. Most of it just comes with experience. But the one major trick, or the one piece of advice I could give somebody that wants to run grade, is take your time and go as slow as you can the first 10 or 15 feet. If you can get 10 or 15 feet somewhat level on plane, once those tracks set down on it, the machine will do the rest. It'll just go. So if you can be really patient and take your time and get started right, if you can just get started right, once you get going, it'll take off. So let's hop on here and see what we can do. So I'm just gonna watch the corner of my blades. I'm gonna go real nice and easy. And just gotta get myself going in there. Making small adjustments, nothing big. I cut pretty hard on that one. have it. One of the problems a lot of people have, especially when they're getting started, is they get the whoop-de-doos going, where you go up and the machine comes down, digs in, and it goes up, comes down, digs down again. The best way to get out of that, let's see if we can replicate that. Screwed up. The best thing to do is split it. If you get one track it's on something good, and one track it's on the mess, it's kind of hard to do and hold the camera. You gotta take your time and go down through there nice and easy. Better already. We'll split it on the other side. That's probably not the best example, but it's the only place I got to play here. If we were actually pushing topsoil up around the house, I could show you a lot better. But hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Let's there's nobody around. Let's sneak in the house real quick and I'll show you guys the basement, and we'll call this one a wrap. All right guys, like I said, I think there's 3 videos that come out of this job. It's digging basement hit rock, tips and tricks to stacking ICF, and maybe do's and don'ts whenever pouring. There's a little series in there somewhere, but yeah. So they got the garage foundation all up. There's that wall there. They will dig down brick ledge we poured. It's probably about 6-8 inches down there. So before they pour this floor, they'll dig down where that floor will go on it. But house is all framed up and getting ready to put the roof on it. They got all their nailers in there for their cabinets and everything. But yeah, looks pretty good. Let's see what the basement looks like. Yep, still here. This is where we terminated our walls, and then they took off with the 2x6 studded wall. We poured that little stem wall down there. Floor goes out, has a frost guard or thermal break on the outside of it to keep the floor from wicking in the cold. But there's our access to go out into the crawl space. But yeah, looks pretty good. Looks like a basement. I guess that's a good thing. So, but yeah, let's head back out, get what little bit we need to finished up, and we'll get out of here. All right guys, it's still a little bit of a mess, but this is where we're gonna have to leave it at for now. I think we got the main goal of the day accomplished the day or after. I didn't want to fill the rest of this in, so I still need to get a concrete truck in there. And the way this stuff is, I don't think it'll hold up a truck. And that could end up being a bad situation. So I stopped just a little bit short there, so I can get a truck in here and do what they need to. And over here, I didn't go tight against the house because this waterproofing needs to be extended up. Right there, that needs to be up here to come above grade. So I kind of held this all back for now until we get back with some waterproofing. But we got it pretty much somewhat roughed in. It really needs to dry out. Needs to dry out, get a few other oddball things done, and then we'll come back and polish her off. But we got the majority of the dirt moved and somewhat close to the location it needs to be. So anyways, it's cold, it's Friday. I think I'm gonna head to the house, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe you learned something, maybe you didn't. Heck, maybe you can comment down below and teach me something. But either way, guys, I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And guys, we'll catch you on the next one.